Came out of the oven. Nice little slice. Look at that. Woo. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com, guys. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. As you just saw, we've got some cassava pone all sliced up and ready to go. Hey, it smells lovely in here. It's been about an hour since I came out of the oven and the entire house still smelling nice. As I said, Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. It's always nice to have you guys in the kitchen here with me. Today we're making a cassava pone. Something's been requested over and over on the website at CaribbeanPot.com over the past couple of years. So here we go. A tasty and delicious dessert cassava pone. Let's see if we can quickly run through the ingredients we'll be using here today. And up front, a little bit of spice there. We've got half a teaspoon of nutmeg, ground nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Smells lovely already, and I even haven't started working with it yet. Half a cup of coconut milk. 1 cup of shredded coconut. You can use grated coconut. If you're buying the stuff in the pack, as I did, what you want is the finest shred you can possibly find. If you're down in the islands and you have freshly grated coconut, do you think that freshly grated coconut is so much nicer to use? Back here, 1 cup of grated pumpkin. I'm going to show you guys how to do that in a second. Additionally, what you can use is the pumpkin pie filling you find in North America in the can. I'm sure that will work as well. Pretty much the same texture and everything else. Here, 1 teaspoon of grated ginger, 2 tablespoons of melted butter, a packed cup of golden brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, good vanilla. I've got a tablespoon of good vanilla here. Smells lovely. I love raisins. I'm going to add about half a cup of raisins to this. 1 cup of evaporated milk. Not condensed milk, but evaporated milk. And back here, the star of the show, this is the grated cassava. I've got about 3 cups of grated cassava there. If I forgot anything, as usual, once we go through the recipe, I will inform you if there's anything to add to this. But this is about it. Now I'll show you guys how to peel and grate that pumpkin, as well as this lovely cassava here. Now, cassava may also be called yuca. I believe it's also called yuca in the Latino grocery stores. I was told that you can find this cassava in its raw form, not just in the produce section of your favorite grocery store, but also in the frozen section, like the freezer section. You will find them in there as well. Supposedly it works just as well. I've never tried it, but personally I like using the fresh stuff that I grate. One of the first things we've got to do is to peel the pumpkin. It's got that hard, waxy outer skin. So with a sharp paring knife, I'm certain you can also use potato peeler, but all you want to do is to peel down on this and remove that outer skin before we go ahead with the grater and grate this down. So I'm just going to finish peeling this off. Now the cassava, I'm going to cut the cassava into pieces to make it easier for me to peel. So what I'm going to do, this big one here, I'm going to cut into 3 pieces. And you can certainly use a potato peeler now and peel the outside here, but I'm going to go old school. So with a sharp paring knife, you're just going to cut a line straight along the side of it like that. And then all you're doing is the same paring knife, you're just going to peel back on the skin and pull back like this. The skin is a fairly thick skin, so you want to get right down to where that sort of white flesh is there. Actually, it seems to be easier if I just peel it back like this. So much for old school way. But anyways, all you're doing is removing that outer. And you'll notice in North America, if you buy cassava in North America, it'll have a sort of a waxy exterior. I think it's dipped in wax just to keep it longer, for a longer shelf life. So all we're going to do now is to peel this back. Now the center of this cassava has a sort of a root or a main vein running down the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. And there's that root here now. So what I'm going to do is cut that out So again, I'm just using the edge of the paring knife here. There we go, I've got that root out. So this here is ready for grating as well. I'll do the other 2 pieces of cassava just to remove the skin. Give it a wash before, both the peeled pumpkin and the cassava. Give it a quick wash, because after you grate it, you can't wash it, right? So give it a quick wash and then start grating. You want to grate on the sort of, I'm not sure how to describe this, but the grater part that would give you the finest grate whatsoever. You can certainly try using a food processor. I've never personally used a food processor for this, but I'm sure it will work as well. So first up, all I'm doing is grating the pumpkin into a bowl here, just to collect it. I'm going to go ahead, grate that pumpkin, set it aside, and then we're going to grate the cassava. With the pumpkin all grated, now it's going to be like a puree almost. I've started to grate the cassava again. Same idea, you're just going to keep grating away. Be very careful, because you can do some hurt to your fingers and your hands if you go where that grater part is there. It's fairly sharp. Down to the end, what I usually do, I get a paper towel, because it gets a little bit slippery, and I use the paper towel to hold on. Well, as in the case of the pumpkin, I did that, as well as when I get down to the lower end of this cassava, I'll do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and continue grating here, and then we're going to move on. Thought I'd share a quick tip with you guys. If you notice, I'm grating in a bowl, but the bowl was moving around on my counter surface. So what I did was, I used a towel. You can use a wet paper, a damp paper towel as well. Put it on the bowl, so when you're grating, the bowl doesn't go sliding all over the place. You have better control of the whole grating process. This step here in making the batter is pretty straightforward. There's no rhyme or reason, any sort of rules to follow. Everything is going to go into this bowl. I've got my whisk here, and we're just going to whisk everything together. But first, what I want to do, I want to put the sugar in first, because I want to sort of melt that, to break it down a little bit. So I'm going to put in the coconut milk in there. And keep working that just for that sugar to melt down a bit and break up all the sort of clumps and everything else in there. I'm going to put in half of that evaporated milk as well. Give that, I'm just going to work that for about a minute or 2. Next up, I'm going to start with the spices. So in goes that cinnamon, as well as the ground nutmeg, the ginger. In goes that coconut, that shredded coconut. And again, keep stirring, because you want to create a nice sort of a batter here. That lovely vanilla. Just love the scent. Ooh, it smells nice. Always reminds me of bacon and goodies and everything else. In goes that grated pumpkin in there. And you can see it's starting to come together a little bit now. It's going to be a sort of a runny batter, but we're going to work on that now. In goes the grated cassava. Get everything in there. Keep stirring it. In goes the melted butter. We've got a couple more things to put in here. I'm just going to sprinkle in that baking powder. Try and get it all over in there. Keep working this, because you want to make sure that everything is incorporated nicely. In goes the rest of that evaporated milk. Keep stirring, keep whisking away, and there's only one more thing to do here. Now guys, in the meanwhile, I've got the oven set at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's preheating at the moment. So I'm just going to continue stirring this up. It's already looking nice and lovely, to be honest with you. And in goes the final ingredient here, those raisins. I'm going to sample a couple for myself. Love raisins. Give that a quick stir. And that's it. That's good to go there. Traditionally, I've also seen some people put condensed milk in here. That is sweet. We've already put a ton of sugar in here, brown sugar in here. So I won't be using any condensed milk. But hey, if grandma or auntie says to put some condensed milk in there, I mean to say, you got to follow the instructions laid down by those before us, right? So I've got my greased pie dish here. You can use any sort of baking dish that you have. I've never used this pie dish before, so I'm just gonna pour this in here. So all I'm gonna do is continue pouring in there, level it off, and as soon as my oven comes up to temperature at 350, we'll put it in the oven, middle rack, and let it go for at least 1 hour. It's nice and lovely in that pie dish now, so I'm just going to stick it in the oven, like I said, 350 degrees, at least 1 hour, and we want this to slowly bake away to infuse all those flavors, and I bet you your kitchen is going to smell wicked. Hey, let's get cracking on this baking now. The cassava pone is all done now. We've got that nice sort of crispy brown golden color on top, a bit darker on the edge. As we go in, it's a bit more golden. Smells nice and lovely in this kitchen here. Here's the thing, guys, your oven may be a little bit different than mine. After 1 hour, I noticed it was still a bit soft in the middle here, so what I did, I gave it a further 12 minutes in the oven. So in total, it cooked for 1 hour and 12 minutes at 375 degrees. All I did was I went down the center, pull back up, it's nice and clean. It's fully cooked. That's just a toothpick test that I did there if you're fairly new to baking, but smells good. Here's the thing though, we've got to allow this to sort of set up and sort of cool before we can cut into it. You will be tempted, trust me, you will be tempted to dig in there, cut a nice thick slice of this cassava pone, but have some patience. Give it time to cool down, maybe about an hour or so, and then you can slice away. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today, guys. I feel like a baker. It smells like a bakery in here. Smelling good. Always a pleasure to have you guys here in the kitchen with me. Remember to share this video with your friends. Tell your friends about CaribbeanPot.com, and always check out the website at CaribbeanPot.com for all the latest and delicious recipes originating from the Caribbean.